crossed legs. Yes? This is a continuation of the lesson that we did with crossed legs. Yep. So happy. Yes, I just told him he's so happy. He's goofy, that's what he is. It's Wilson, yeah? Who watched that movie the other night? Yeah. Wilson. A relationship with a soccer ball, right? Interesting. Where we'll go psychologically. Which tells you something about our biology. Please lie on your back. Because when you lie on your back, there's nowhere to fall. Literally. It's one of the safest positions you'll ever be in, other than lying on a really soft mattress. From a felt perspective, some of you would actually feel safer lying on your front. From a mechanical perspective, it's which one allows most of the weight to go backwards, but that's by the by. I'm digressing. Sense your contact with the floor and notice how much of yourself rests on the floor. I asked that question yesterday. Yep. I can't from here, but I can bring it close to my mouth. How about that? Okay. And I can also probably speak up a bit. Please bend both of your legs, stand your feet, and stand your feet in such a way that you know you could cross the left leg over the right. And then go ahead and do that. And a few times remind yourself of what it feels like to tilt your legs to the left, which you didn't do very many times yesterday. Tilt your legs to the left and then return. Left and come back to the middle. And could you please identify in your sensation that moment that you return to middle, that you can say to yourself, middle, state 0. Don't go past middle. Don't collect $200. Don't go past middle. Just come back to middle so that you really get to know that place. And because you have a segmented body, you can feel the sequencing of that movement through yourself. The legs start to go, then what goes next? Then what goes next? Then what goes? No, this is a rhetorical question. Please don't answer. Then what goes next? Then what goes next? Because there isn't one single answer, because some of you hold many bits together and some of you hold very few bits together. Everything's quite free, and some of you move in rather, more social groupings, may I say, inside. Good. Bring the legs to the middle, uncross them, lengthen them. And I'm asking you to unlengthen your leg. Bless you. I'm asking you to unlengthen your legs because now you don't have to be concerned with them anymore. Yeah? They're lying on the floor. No need to control them. Take your arms towards the ceiling and make that triangle, palm to palm. The apex of the triangle is the fingertips. The base of the triangle is the width between the two shoulder tips. Keep this triangle constant. and tilt the triangle to the left and bring it back. And in a funny way, this triangle has a flat bottom. Yeah? If you think of the width, the base of the triangle, it's flat, more or less. I know you have rounded structures back there, but can you feel that it's a little bit more difficult to tilt the triangle? And that's all we were talking about in this business of base of support and stability and center of gravity. It requires more work to lift something that is stable. Okay, lower your arms down. Flop. The sound of two arms flopping, which is different from the sound of two legs flopping from the other day. And now, with your arms resting on the ground and your hands resting on the ground, you no longer have to concern yourself with doing anything with them. So now, would you please roll your head to the left? And notice, because your skull is more of a sphere, more like that happy little red ball, can you feel the difference in the quality of work needed to roll your head? And I'm sorry for those of you that rolling your head to the left is not your preference, which means you're kind of struggling against the habit, but that's a different story. Only return to head to the middle. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't say that, did I? I didn't say that about the arms either. But that's the game throughout this whole lesson. Just return to the middle. Identify middle, identify middle, identify middle. Now, stop with the head. And I know your eyes aren't lying on the floor, but your eyes are lying or floating within the eye sockets. So now move your eyes to the left and bring them back to the middle. Left and to the middle. Now, just like your skeleton, your eyes are moved by muscles. And the eyes have a weight and they have a center of gravity of their own. And if you pay attention, you can detect how much work you have to do to move your eyes. And bring your eyes to the middle. Stop. And now reflect. Out of those four out of those four places, tilting the legs, tilting the arms, rolling the head, moving the eyes, which felt the easiest to you? A rhetorical question. And there is no correct answer there from an experiential perspective. Okay, so now bend your legs, stand your feet. Now already you've taken the mass of the legs and you've moved them away from the floor. So now they have the potential of falling. Cross the left leg over the right. Now you've just changed your base of support. You're resting over just 1 foot surface area, not 2. And you've also lost some mobility. Those hip joints that you just could move independently a moment ago, you can't. Raise both arms towards the ceiling and form that triangle. And could you please maintain at all times the integrity of the triangle? Do not deform it. So now Your knees are in the middle. Your fingers are in the middle. Your head is in the middle. Let's call that your nose. And your eyes are in the middle. Move all of those 4 places at the same time to the left, and then come back to the middle. Now, keep all of those 4 locations in the same relationship. Do not let one get ahead of the other, and do not let one get behind the other. Everything travels together at the same time, at the same speed. And just come back to the middle. Do that many, many times. And you'll notice, those of you who have already noticed it, you'll notice that to actually start yourself off, something has to move first. And if you're keeping the knees and the fingers and the nose and the eyes all together, what do you push the ground with? Can you feel? Something has to send you off to the left. Remember that business we did with the ankle the other day? Do you remember that? Are some of you doing that? Yeah. And now would you please find how far to the left can you tilt yourself without falling? And you know, when you get to that moment that you think, if I go any further, I'm going to fall, you can make a choice. It's not a long way. You don't have to fall a long way. You can make a choice. Oh, what the heck? I'll just fall. And you fall. Plonk. That's good. Someone decided to do it. Nice. And then you can just bring everything back to the middle however you like. Doesn't matter. And then try that again. Plonk. Sorry. Was that a surprise? It sounded like one. Oh, that one. Okay. Yeah. Now that, you hear that plonk on the ground? Can you hear that? That's the sound of falling. If I see limbs touching the ground and I don't hear that sound, I know that there's no falling. And I know the structure of the human body is such that it is pretty hard to get the legs and the arms on the ground in this relationship without falling. It's pretty tough, unless you have just the right body proportions. Keep yourself stiff. I'm actually asking yourself to keep yourself stiff. Chonk. And then you have to unstiffen yourself to bring yourself back. Yes? Yeah. Can you feel how much work that is when you get to that point of falling? Can you feel what's holding on? Yeah, it's like, oh, something tenses. Can you feel where in your body do you feel the tension increase? What starts to hold you more together? Now, to give yourself a little bit of latitude, yes? Perhaps you can get the ball rolling by just starting one part of yourself tipping first. Let's say the knees, but the other parts catch up pretty quick. So you have to overcome the inertia. So you let the knees tip, but then you quickly bring the other 3 parts of yourself into line, and then they just stay locked together. Chunk, 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 chunk. And then once you've fallen, see if it's possible to bring yourself back by tilting your legs, trying to bring them back to the middle. Notice, feel how much hard work that is. Just to the left, not to the right, just to the left. Plonk. All right, let that be, please. So you can see that if we were to continue like that, you would really drive home this point about stability and what it feels like to try to move something when it's flopped to the ground and really stable and you have to bring it back. It's hard. It's also hard to stop yourself on that edge just as you feel the possibility of falling arise. Can you feel something kind of wakes up inside you and goes, oh, I better turn on, I'm about to fall. And as soon as you make that decision, I'm going to stay there and not fall, it's okay. As soon as you make the decision, I will fall, it's okay too. But if you haven't made a decision one way or the other, it can be a very unpleasant place. That place of anticipating falling but not falling. Should I fall? Should I not fall? So please always make a choice, because in this context, if you don't have an injury of a particular kind, it's not a very far way to fall and you won't hurt yourself. Please bend both of your legs, stand your feet, cross the left leg over the right. Have your arms up towards the ceiling. And here's the intention. Let me describe it to you. You're going to turn your head, not roll your head. You're going to turn your head to face the left. Do that several times. And what you'll feel is the back of your head and then the side of your head rubbing against the floor. Can you feel that rubbing? Yeah, that's the feeling of turning. Now, roll your head to the left. Just roll it. In other words, don't rub the floor anymore. Just simply let the head travel across the floor and come back. So that movement that you're doing now is not the movement we're doing. Okay, so return to turning your head or rotating your head. Rotate your head and come back. And feel, as you rotate your head to the left, which part of yourself, the arms or the legs, wants to follow. Can you feel? Rotating. I'm using rotating and turning interchangeably, just to let you know. I'll try to be constant, but sometimes I forget. It is a sort of spinning, but not spinning. I will stick to rotating. You've caught me in my own trap. You're rotating your head. Yeah. Now, the next time you rotate your head, tilt your arms to the left and notice, does that assist or hinder the turning of your head? And contrast that now with keeping your arms towards the ceiling. So now you have two contrasting experiences, tilting the arms or not tilting the arms. Do whatever feels easiest for you at this particular time. Good. And now the next time you go to rotate your head, not only tilt your arms, but tilt your legs and notice, does that help or hinder the rotation of the head? And if when you rotate your head, you feel your neck gets a little bit funny, you might need to put something under your head so that the neck doesn't get stretched in a peculiar way. Can you feel, is there some sort of connection? Is there some sort of relationship between the turning of your head and the arms and the legs? Yes, feel how the weight shifts on the sole of your foot. I use the word turning again. You see, there's my habit. Rotate your head. Nice. I tell you what, why just, not for the, just for the hell of it, just for contrast. As you turn, as you rotate your head to the left, tilt your arms and your legs to the right. Yeah. And you can ask that question. Does that help or does that hinder? Does it allow you to turn your head further, or do you feel more of a twist in the neck? Great. Lower your arms, let some blood come back to your fingers. Rest a bit. Bend your legs, stand your feet. Cross the left leg over the right. Oh, sorry. Changed my mind. That was not the instruction I wanted to give. I was thinking about two things at once. Roll onto your left side, please. That was the instruction I really wanted to give. Have the right leg resting on top of the left, and have both legs bent. And could you position your feet so that they're directly underneath your pelvis? Not close to the pelvis, but just take your thighs a little bit further away from your chest so that the legs swing backwards a little bit. And then your feet almost kind of come right along the coronal plane of the side of the body. Yeah, that's it. Got it. Have the left arm long in front, lying on the floor, palm facing ceiling, about shoulder level. And now put that right hand on top of the left. The hands are in front. That's okay. I'm sorry, I think I did it. Yep. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And now in this position, could you move the back of your head backwards so that your chin comes further from the front of your chest, and then return. And if you feel that there's too much friction between the side of your face and the floor, or the side of your face and the blanket, you might need to lift your head a little bit. So it's a very simple movement. You're just taking the back of your head backwards, and then you're returning to where you started. Just that. And map the spatial trajectory of your chin. Note how the chin travels in an arc away from the chest, upwards relative to the body, and backwards. And then it comes back, forwards and downwards. Continue moving your head just like you're moving it. And however much your chin travels through space, could you slide that left hand along the floor, upwards and backwards, and then come back. That's it. And after you've set up that relationship for yourself, the right hand stays on top of the left. So the two hands are traveling together. It's just that the left hand is the one sliding on the floor. After you've set up that relationship, see if it's possible to keep the hands going a little faster than the head so that they almost end up above the shoulders. In other words, towards the back of the room, with the head back. And feel what happens in your lower ribs at the back. Feel what happens to the shape of your lower back, how that whole area starts to get more curved. Can you feel that? And the part that I'm trying to avoid describing is, as you do that, can you feel how your abdomen actually goes forward? Yep, they're spot on. Absolutely spot on. Now, even though I didn't say it, some of you are already doing it. So why don't we include this in the picture? As you take your hands upwards and backwards, and as you take your head backwards, why don't you take your feet backwards as well? So now, yeah, the thighs and the feet go backwards, the hands go backwards, the head goes backwards, and feel how you get more and more arched in your back. That's nice. But don't roll onto your back. Stay on your side. And now that you've got the idea, for a few moments, just play with the timing. And play with quantity. How much, when, what part, how far, when. And if you play with that timing, it will allow you to stay lying on your side. But if you get the timing a little bit skew-if, guess what? You'll end up somewhere else. Because side lying's a pretty precarious position. Do you remember you all found that? It only takes a little bit to send you backwards or forwards. Great. Let that be. Rest on your back, rest on your front. Just rest in any position that you like. Maybe one that's really unstable. Isn't it funny? We never go to sleep in a position that's unstable, except for maybe in the trains reading as we're going home at the end of the day and we're dead tired. That head just keeps falling down. We always lie down to go to sleep. Do we? Some of us go to concerts to go to sleep. When I was working as a performing artist, I didn't serve coffees or drinks. I was an usher, thank goodness. I got to see a lot of good shows. And inevitably at the opera house, somewhere in the middle of the concert, you'd hear this. It's like, oh no, just in the quiet passage. So it's interesting. Please bend your legs, stand your feet. Cross the left leg over the right. Form a triangle with your arms. And now, please recall the experience that you just had lying on your side and that place in which you arrived. Do you remember that position, that feeling of that lying on the side and being arched? Do you remember that? So now, as you start to roll to the left, at that moment that you feel you're going to start to lose balance, start to turn your head more to the left, take the back of the head backwards, and begin to take the arms further away from the legs, just like you did. And you will find that you're able to go all the way onto your side without falling. And if you explore, once again, if you can clearly identify that moment of falling, and you can start rotating the head and taking the head backwards just a little bit before that moment, that means you never experience the feeling that you're going to fall. It means you're always kind of in control of the roll. You're in control and not gravity. And it's, sorry? Like a pussycat, yes. Yeah, they twist and they move. That's right. That's right. While they're actually falling through space. Now, you're not quite falling through space, but there is a potential for falling. So if you can recognize just a little bit ahead of time, there's that feeling. I know that feeling. In a moment, I know I'm going to stiffen up to try to stop myself. So why don't I start to turn my head backwards, take my arms with my head, take the legs away from the arms. And you know what you're doing? You're bringing your masses at a very regulated rate so that you stay counterbalanced. You bring those masses that would actually topple you to the left, you're bringing them into the midline where they don't topple you so much. And if you regulate it, not only can you go onto your side beautifully, coming back, you just reverse it and you go into flexion and you end up on your back. Yeah. It's curious, huh? So this is now the difference between being a stiff, inanimate object, like a chair, or a statue. You know, we make statues of human beings, and statues topple over real easy. You really have to bolt them down to a big base of support. And actually being a sensitive, adaptive, feeling human being, that you're able to sense where you're at and you have some strategies to do something about it. That's nice. Look at that. It's beautiful to see. You know, if some of you feel like sitting up and having a look, you should. It looks really beautiful. But don't everybody sit up, because then there's nothing to watch. You can see the delicacy of control. It's gorgeous. And you know that feeling that you get at that moment when you think, I'm just about to fall, and how the diaphragm goes. Notice that that can be absent. You don't get that feeling anymore. Now, that's what Aikido people and gymnastics people and people that have to move across space and tumble and contact improv people and dancers and physical theater artists, this is what they have to be able to be in any orientation in space, know where they are, and just like a cat, land. So I reckon you're doing a pretty good job. Rest a little bit. I'm now having a conversation with Jenny. You know, when we were talking about planning for this lesson, and I said, you know, I'll teach the stability lesson. I think she meant the one that Moshe teaches on the video. I'm not. But would you say that this is actually a better option? Yeah. Yeah. And the reason I chose this one rather than the other option, which you will get to do at some time, maybe next segment, when you know more about the pelvis, is in the other option, there's a huge fear component for a long period of time. And it's not necessarily good. But here, the anticipation of falling is very manageable. There's not very far to fall. And that's important. When you're learning a new skill, it's important to feel as safe as you possibly can. And this is much safer. And you'll understand what I mean when we meet again in April, yes? Because that's when we'll do this other lesson. Please bend your knees, stand your feet, and no, we're not going to do it to the right. However, we will develop it one more step, okay? Cross the legs, have your arms in a triangle. And I even don't have to say do it in a reversible fashion because you're already doing it in that interruptible, reversible fashion. So there's no point me saying that. But start to tilt yourself to the left in just that way you were doing it. And there's a moment that as you start to get on your side, if you keep moving your head and start to move your chin away from the floor as if to look through the windows at the back of the room, notice where you go then. Yeah. And then all you have to do is reverse that. Smell your armpit. Yeah. So it's up to you. You want to look out the window and smell your armpit, you know. I know which one I prefer. What I need to say for some of you is a fish called Wanda. Some of you got the reference. Yay! That's going to now be a new. That's going to be an in-joke now. Or else you're going to have to go and watch the movie. But can you feel that if you just get the timing just right, and as you land onto that side, if you start to take the chin away from the head, the chin away from the head, yeah, the chin away from the chest even further and look towards the window, you end up in your tummy. And if you really want to now aim for perfection, yeah, if perfection isn't a destination but a journey, then think or try out. How would you move your eyes to lead you through this whole journey? Where would you be looking at space? And I think I'd like to say that differently. What little bug would you need to be watching, traveling and flying through the room in order to end up on your tummy? You know, that kind of bug? See it fly out the window. And it comes back in the window and then goes for your knees. Yeah. Let your eyes lead the whole thing. And you know, when you have the coordination throughout your whole self in such a way that you're able to roll onto another person. Man, you really got carried away with that bug. Okay, that's good. That's good. That's great. Yeah. So that's the notion. That's the notion that the thought does it. The thought does it. You just move your eyes and the whole rest of the body follows. And you know what? When you're in that state, it's no longer mechanics, it's physiology. The pattern kicks in. Your brain kicks in the pattern. And it just happens. It's not you have to stretch this and turn that and do this and do that. It's just the eyes. What is it? In neurophysiology? Well, mechanics is everything that we had to talk about now. No, now you're firing patterns. You're actually firing patterns. You've actually composed the pattern. You've spent most of this lesson composing the pattern. This moves here, that bone moves there. Yeah, but now you just, I give you an idea. There's a bug flying around. Watch it flying out the window. Yeah, it's not, well, it actually isn't natural. You just spent 45 minutes constructing it. Oh, is that what your experience is? Yeah, cool. That's great. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it is an interesting feeling. And, you know, that's what he's trying to get you to enter into into a lesson, the experience of it. Yeah. All right, let that be a rest. And, you know, there is a madness in doing it on one side. There is a madness. And once again, he went to Russia to find the reason for the madness. Interesting. A lot of good stuff was coming out of Russia. You know, Vygotsky, Alexander Luria, Speransky. He didn't get this idea from Speransky. He got it from martial arts. You know, when you're training in martial arts, basically they teach you on one side. And they let you figure it out on the other. So from his experience, he got it from martial arts. But it wasn't until he read a book by a medical doctor who was also a researcher in Russia by the name of Speransky. And there's a good story about that. We'll put it up on the knowledge base. Yeah, because it's good that you read it in his words because it's quite amazing. Okay, roll to one side and roll to one side, come up onto your belly, but don't have the arms crossed. And see if now that lesson has given you an idea about how to roll onto your belly without having to push the floor with your arms or your legs. And then come back onto your back without pushing the floor with your arms or your legs. Yeah? Matter of fact, why don't you just have your arms and legs completely off the ground? Yeah? Just completely suspended, not touching. Look, Mum, no hands, no feet. And go ahead and look at the bug. Yeah, that's good. Nice. And that's it. See, now that you know how to organize the trunk, can you feel that the limbs are kind of not necessary to push with anymore? You could actually assist a little bit depending on where you want to put the weight of the arms, because the arms and the legs do have a weight. And if you just send them in the right directions, they help a lot, but you actually don't even have to push the ground with the arms or the legs. And now Everybody roll to the left. And return, and everybody roll to the right. And return, and everybody roll to the left. Oh, this is the feeling of power. And everybody roll to the right. So why don't you time it in your own row so that you're all rolling in the same direction, row by row, not with everybody, but just whoever's in your row. Roll to the left, roll to the right. And the arms or the legs never touch the ground. Yeah. 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 The floor. Yeah. Ah, now you know what the next lesson is. Okay. Here you go. And look, you just bring the elbows and the legs closer together, then you take them apart, closer together, take them apart. All right, I think you've done a brilliant job. I think you deserve a rest, so please go have a good rest, and we'll come back to, let's say, at about 5 to 4.